Hi, our guest today is Jennifer Walsh, who is best known in Milford for running the Milford Special Olympics. Welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank
So-
you for having me.
You guys just had your biggest fundraiser of the year was in November. You had a very successful dinner.
Yeah, we had our annual banquet and dinner dance. It was a wonderful night. We had a full house. We sold out for the first time ever.
The whole
wow.
Portuguese Club,
Yeah,
right?
at the
Oh, wow.
Portuguese Club.
How
Yep.
many people were there?
We sold 360 tickets.
Wow.
Well, that's fantastic. And that funds most of the events during the year?
It does. I have two big fundraisers a year, that banquet, and then I do a road race, and those fund all the
And when's the road race?
road races in September every year.
Okay.
Wow.
And Special Olympics has been around how long in Milford?
So I have the 22 years.
And did you start it?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
That's quite a
Nin-
commitment to be
1994.
associated for 22 years.
22 years. That's a long time.
And I do know about 3 years ago you were named the Special Olympics Coach of the Year for North America,
Yes, I was.
which is quite an honor.
Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you.
That's significant.
Yeah, it's a passion of mine. I enjoy it.
How did you get started in this?
I started when I was a teenager working at a camp for special needs students, and then I just always kept it not as a job, but as a side. I always did a volunteer, and then eventually I went back to school for teaching and got a job in the field too. So
And you created it locally.
yes.
And about how many people are involved in participating in the Olympics every
So
year?
right now we have about 290 athletes.
Wow.
Yep. And we run year round. We have 2 or 3 sports a season. We have 4 seasons.
And what sports do you have?
So right now we're in basketball season and we have 5 teams. And we have cheerleading, flag football, soccer, wrestling, powerlifting, swimming, cycling, softball, bocce.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah, a lot of sports.
Wow. That's good. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, it is.
That's kind of neat.
It's
So
a lot of fun.
basically anybody with any...
And bowling, I forgot bowling.
Okay.
Anybody with any intellectual disability.
I was going to say with varying abilities,
Varying
or
abilities,
whatever
yep.
we want to say it,
Right,
has some
yeah.
place to participate.
right.
Which is, I think that's
That's
fantastic.
tremendous.
And you can do it as long as you want. So we have programs you can compete at age 8 and you can stay till as long as you want. We had a golfer that was 104 once. And
Wow.
and then we have programs for the young athletes, for the younger kids, but not competitive sports.
Right.
Wow. That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
Fantastic. So the fundraising is a significant part of what you have to do, because that's probably the hardest part is fundraising.
The hardest part is fundraising because you're talking uniforms, you're talking transportation. It's like an athletic department, almost, with 290.
But you get no funding from the town or the school system.
No, we, like Community Use has taken us under their wing and they help us with gyms and registrations and things like that. Lenny helped me start it all those years ago.
Oh, Lenny did? Yeah.
Lenny did, yeah. He actually sponsored us for years. And now we've built it so that we're more and more independent.
Right, but in terms of, it's not like the school paying for a late bus for kids at practice.
No.
So everything is through the fundraising.
Everything's through the fundraising. And we just started, in the past 5 years, we offer unified sports at Milford High. So we have 3 teams at Milford High that are kids with and without disabilities competing together. And so, and we belong to, the MIA sponsors it, and they go and they compete just like with other high schools, and they earn a varsity letter and the whole thing. We just had a unified basketball competition this weekend.
Wow. So it's now that's kind of moved into the schools.
It's moved into the schools.
That's a great thing.
And we have an annual school day games, which we started because we wanted to get more younger kids involved. A lot of people think Special Olympics is just for adults, and it's for all ages. So we started this annual school day games 3 years ago, where we have a one-day Special Olympic event for ages preschool to 8th grade. And then my high school athletes, they volunteer at it and help run the different activities.
Oh, that's great.
So it's a one big big day of Special Olympics, just
Now,
to
my guess
expose
is you have a
people.
lot of volunteers aside from that that
Oh,
are
yeah.
involved in it, right?
Oh, yeah, you
Right.
can't do it without all our coaches are
Volunteers, right?
Right, and of course, we need more than just a coach. Some of our teams need a little more help than that, so you
Right.
need people on the court with our athletes and training, and we need volunteers all the time.
How many volunteers do you have?
I would say right now I have about 80 volunteers.
Wow.
And if
Different
some-
sports, different,
Right.
you know, when people are available. Some people just do fundraisers, that's fine with me. Some people coach, and then other people, you know, they help me with PR, like Al, that's what he helps me with, to publicize things. And so we need a lot of help in a lot of areas, so.
Oh, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure. Now,
It's all volunteer.
And it's inclusive in more than just Milford, or it's
Right,
just Milford?
so majority of our athletes are Milford, but we've always never turned an athlete away if they want to drive to Milford, because there aren't many programs out there.
Mm-hmm.
So we have athletes driving from Framingham, Norfolk, Shrewsbury.
That far away?
Yeah, well, we were the only Special Olympics wrestling team in the area at all. So people will drive for that. Not a lot of people have powerlifting, people will drive for that. So the different sports, we offer a big variety, not everybody has, and a lot of towns don't have Special Olympics.
A lot of smaller towns.
Right,
I mean,
right, so out in this way, you know, it's better to drive to Milford because they don't have the population to,
I would guess that you have a lot of people from Upton and
Upton?
Mendon, right?
Yes.
Right, oh, that's
Yep.
good.
they come from Medway, Millers,
And
Medfield,
And Mendon, I'm sure.
Mendon.
And if somebody wants to volunteer, do they contact you?
Yeah, they would contact me.
Okay.
Now, I guess you query all these people.
Oh, we have to,
Yeah.
yeah. So Special Olympics has a special volunteer form that you have to fill out, and you go through a query. And all our coaches have to be certified in the sport that they're going to coach. So there's online trainings and meetings.
So if I say I want to be a basketball coach, I have to be trained?
You do. You have
Okay.
to be able to, so you have to fill out that volunteer form, have a query check, and then there's specific trainings online that you have to take to be a,
So it's not just training in the sport, but training in how to deal with the
yes,
athletes?
protective behaviors training, the sport-related training, concussion, things like that.
Right.
I have a friend who recently volunteered to be his son's hockey coach, who was telling me, this is not Special Olympics, but
Yeah.
just junior hockey, who was telling me, well, they went through a half-day training at Dean College
Yeah.
to be coaches, and they thought they were done at noon, and then their teacher said, oh, no, now you're going out on the ice for another 4 hours, and you have to do everything that you're going to teach those boys to do. We have to make sure you know how to do.
And Special Olympics has meetings before every sports season for all the coaches, so
Right.
that everybody knows if there's a change in a rule or there's, you know, new requirements or when, you know, so they do that every year, so that's good too.
Now, I assume you have referees and umpires and that kind of stuff that are trained specifically for
Yep.
that. Remarkable.
So we just had a flag football tournament, and all the referees came from one of the leagues. They had all their referees volunteered. They could signed up and volunteered for the day.
And they
Okay,
all took training just for this.
Right, so our flag football rules would be different than football.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, they did.
And the softball, I would guess, is a little
A
different.
little different, depending on, because we have all levels. Well, our team, though, we have two teams, one lower than the other, but our high team, they're crazy. They win every year a gold medal.
Oh, really?
Yeah, at the state games, so they
Oh.
do really well. But our lower team, you would need someone to be more trained on dealing with a Special Olympic athlete.
Okay. Wow. And what are the biggest problems you find? Biggest problems you have?
I think the biggest challenge for me is that it's grown into such a big thing that I need help in a lot of areas. So, you know, like Kevin, he said, why don't you contact me enough? Because I get so caught up in running the program itself that I forget to say, hey, could you, mention this, or could you help me with PR for this? That's my biggest challenge, reaching out and saying,
That's okay.
I need help with this.
I have the events down on my calendar now, so I'll be bugging you.
Yeah, that's good, because I need the help in that area. That's my biggest challenge, keeping up with the web page and social media and things like that.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest challenges you have is really not so much the logistics, but managing the Special Olympics. That's your big challenge.
that's
So you really need an assistant.
Yes, I do need an assistant. Oh, I would love that, yeah.
So maybe somebody out there is willing to help.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I guess the biggest problem is who replaces you when you get, and you decide.
So I need an assistant so I can break them in.
Training,
That's it.
right.
Yeah.
But,
Well, Well, my guess is there are probably some people that are really, really involved, really involved that would like to do that.
Oh,
That'd
yeah.
be my guess.
Yeah. I'm bad at asking for help. I'll admit it, Al.
Well, no, I
Well, I'll
I
tell
can
you,
appreciate that.
when you're a Boy Scout leader, I've been a Boy Scout leader for 18 years, and when you're a Boy Scout leader, they teach you the people that you should ask for help are people that you know are busy
Busy,
because they're already volunteering,
right.
and that's half the problem.
Yeah.
Is they always say ask the busy person,
Right. That's exactly the case. Exactly the case.
they'll either say yes or no. But it also helps if somebody says I'm not going to volunteer, but when you're asked, that's different.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's absolutely the case. I mean,
It's very hard to look somebody in the eyes and say, can you help me with this? To look you in the eyes and say no. So,
well, no, that's right. That's face to face. Never do it over the phone. You do it eye to eye. Never do it over the phone.
but no, I'm amazed at the breadth of the programs that you have. And it goes far beyond, I think, what most people who don't have an exposure to having a child with a different ability. You know, if you don't have a friend or relative or your own child, you tend to know it's there, but not
Yeah.
really know the depth of it.
And it's grown so much, the
Yes,
Special Olympics
really.
in the state, never mind just in Milford. They have youth leadership programs. We have a student and an athlete that are on the Youth Activation Council for Special Olympics Massachusetts. We just had an athlete go to Toronto for the NBA All-Star game, and he played in a unified game with the NBA players.
Oh, wow.
There's so many opportunities, and another athlete that went to China. And then I just had an athlete that ran the Boston Marathon last year.
Wow.
So there's so many opportunities for our athletes to go further than just the state
And
level.
I think it's important that people remember they might have a stereotype of what a Special Olympics is.
Right.
There are people with all degrees of intellectual disabilities out there,
Right.
and physical disabilities as well, that just don't fit into a bucket that say, hey, he's or she's, you know, and I think people need to get away from that. And that's
Oh
why,
yeah, I
you know,
agree, 100%.
when I learned of the breadth of the program a couple of years ago, it just absolutely amazed me. They have so many people as volunteers and so many participants.
And so many opportunities for our
Well, I
Special
think
Olympic athletes.
generally speaking, the nation or people are more in tune with that, because more in tune with the handicapped and Special Olympics. I mean, you see now handicapped activities for handicapped soldiers or whatever that they're in. You know.
Disabled.
Yeah, I'll just point out, I'm the ADA coordinator in my town, and the statistics are 20% of Americans have a disability of one form or another. It can be, a serious disability to a mild disability. And I think people don't understand that percentage is that high.
Well, it's exactly the case, because as we move through, as time goes on, the categories used to be normal and not normal. And what's happened is people are beginning to categorize people in broader, and people are falling into larger groups, and now those groups are being serviced, and they never were before.
Right, and the thing is they just may learn a little differently, but they can do the same things as you and I, no problem.
Absolutely.
They just maybe need to learn it a little differently, be taught a little differently, or just have the chance to show you that they can do it.
Just
And
to
now
have it-
we're giving them the chance.
I think the chance is important because in my day, candidly, people of different abilities, which is the broadest term I can say,
no, that's correct.
were put in what we now would politely call a warehouse or a
No.
special school.
I know.
Once they reached like teenage years, we had a girl living a block away growing up, and it was, where did she go? Well, I remember my parents just saying, well, she's at high school age, so they take her to the special place, which is not a good term, because eventually it was a warehouse, and and we don't do that anymore. But I think
Which is a great thing.
it's important to treat people as people.
Well, historically through time, I mean, we did the same thing with mental illness. They put them in a big cage or whatever, and forgot about it.
Yeah.
And so we're beginning to treat them in a much more normalized way, in a much more inclusive way.
Right, and
But I
that's
also think it's very important for somebody who is not as able in one area to demonstrate that just like an average person, they are good in other areas. I mean, I stink at mathematics, and I make no bones about telling people that. I'm a very good writer. So I get math challenged, but okay. but I have a sister who's a math whiz, but can't write anything.
Well, let's don't get carried away about your writing.
Okay. No, but I mean, the point is that, you know, somebody might not be able to function in the way that the three of us do in terms of intellectual capability, but they might be a far better athlete. And at least when the three of us were growing up, or I'll say the two of us, because I know we're older than you, that person wouldn't have been given the chance
Right, and it's so
to demonstrate the athletic ability that they have.
and that's why I'm so passionate about Special Olympics, because it gives these athletes a chance to prove themselves. It gives them opportunities they wouldn't otherwise have
And sometimes that's all the difference in
in
the
the
world
world.
in having a quality life.
That's right.
You know, to be able to compete on a level, to look at, you know, the Olympics on TV and say, I can do that. I swim in an Olympics. You know, it's a different Olympics,
Yeah.
but that they're of the caliber to win medals.
And some of our athletes, they'll do well in Special Olympics. They'll get the courage to go to the high school and try out for the team. I've had athletes that had started with us in track, and then they've done so well that the high school coach is like, wait a minute, you need to be on my team. I love when that happens. I
great,
love that.
right.
And my favorite story to tell is years ago when we had just started an after-school program at the high school called Circle of Friends, and now we have a big Best Buddies program there. So between Best Buddies, Special Olympics, and all the things we do at the high school, we used to walk into a lunchroom and all of our special needs students would be at one lunch table talking to each other. Now when you walk in the lunchroom at the high school, you can't find them. And to me, that's what makes it all worth it. All these programs are helping with the inclusiveness, and you know what? A lot of students weren't comfortable because they didn't know. It's the unknown, and now they're so exposed and they're growing up with it, and our students are in all these programs with them.
So it makes normalization.
No, I was going to ask what the interaction is between what you do and the Best Buddies, which puts on the prom every year.
The Best Buddies in Franklin puts on a prom. We do a beauty pageant.
I'm sorry, the beauty pageant. Is that done by you, or is that
Well,
done
it
by
was started
Best
by
Buddies?
me. I
Okay.
did Best Buddies. I started Best Buddies probably 12 years ago. We started the beauty pageant 3 or 4 years ago. And then as my programs have grown, I've stepped aside, and Mr. Goucher and Alexis Forge run Best Buddies now.
Right,
and
which
they've kept that going.
the Best Buddies Club in the high school does.
Right, so that's
Another day that I think is very, very important for
it's
people.
very important.
It's not. It's sort of a beauty contest, but it has the aspect of dressing up, and all the vendors that donate.
Yeah, yeah.
Making
Ronnie
sure they have
Ozier,
tuxes
Gail's hair, yep.
and hair styles for the girls, and tuxes for the guys, and photos, and it's just a chance to show off. It's just
And that
very
started because
wonderful.
I had a student that really wanted to be a model. She was dying for it. And we tried to sign her up for another beauty pageant, and they didn't take her. So we're like, all right, we're going to have our own.
And I
We'll just do
understand
our
that,
own.
in not taking her, they made some comments about her ability.
Yeah, so that was it. So we started our own, and that's been a huge hit. So it's all about the students and their needs and their wants and their dreams, and that's why these programs are so awesome.
Well, I think the important thing, if you add it up, it's creating youth with confidence in their abilities to go forward.
Right,
And every parent wants a child to succeed.
right,
But it also puts one other thing, self-respect.
right.
That's probably the biggest element. It gives them a self-worth, self-value.
We do
Which
an
is
assembly every year called, it's an R word assembly, stop the word to end the word assembly that we do at the high school every year. And so it's an assembly, and our students with special needs get up there and talk about what it's like to have special needs, the challenges they've faced, the things they've overcome. And they talk to people about not using the word retarded in front of them, around them.
Which
And
a
it's
lot
just
of,
promoting awareness.
Yeah.
and that is a pejorative term that a lot of
Right.
teenagers use with
Right.
each other.
Right.
Like you tard or you
You don't
retard.
realize who's
they-
around you when you say it.
They don't realize that it's a word of hurt
Right.
to
Right.
a lot of people.
Right, so, we have a lot of those words in our vocabulary, so it's just nice to make people aware and say, hey,
It's
look,
just another one of those words we don't want you to say. And
right, but our students get up there and do the assembly,
yeah.
which is amazing to see, too.
And I look at that as less being politically correct than just being courteous to your
Right.
friends
Right,
and
exactly.
people you go to school with.
Yeah, and if people aren't aware that if you don't make them aware, they're not gonna know that they're hurting someone's feelings. So all these things tied together, they're all tied in, really help.
That's great.
Wow. Now, when's they start training for certain
We just started basketball now. We
basketball?
just started last week.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and we go through March.
Through March.
So they have community games, and then they have 2 state events. And so in March, they go away for a weekend. They put us up in hotels, and we compete in Worcester all weekend long, and it's
Oh,
a
that's
big
kinda
state
neat.
event.
Oh, wow, that's
Yeah.
great.
So that's the other thing. It gives our students all these independent skills, from going to a hotel, staying on your own, no mom and dad.
Ooh.
That's, how do the parents feel about that? Because I know
A lot of parents are nervous at first, but I say let them try it. Let them try one night, and we go from there. We have chaperones.
yeah.
Yeah,
And as a scout leader, we always encounter that first summer camp,
yeah.
watching the parents withdraw and
Yeah.
that first camp out weekend.
And some of the athletes have trouble not being with their parents all the time
Yes.
too. So,
Oh, it works both
but if
ways,
if
but-
they're with someone familiar, it really helps.
Softens it.
And you're training with them all year, 3 or 4 months. They get to know you, and
You become family.
you become family. You really do.
So how big is your family now?
I know. I have a lot of kids. I love my job. So Love what I
It
do.
shows in what you do. It really does.
Thank
So
you.
we've got about 5 minutes left in the show. Tell us, what are the types of volunteers you're looking for?
I just want people that are passionate about my students and want to see them succeed, and are looking to help. So you don't have to be, an NBA coach. You don't have to know the sport as much as you are compassionate and kind and want to make a difference. That's what I want.
Okay. And if you're not of the coaching type, you said
I can use volunteers in all areas.
public relations.
What areas do you
travel.
have? What areas do you
Well,
need?
I'm looking to put together a games management team so that it isn't me managing everything. So I'm looking to put together a team and everybody take a different role. So meet once a month and help plan events and fundraisers, and and there's a lot of paperwork involved in Special Olympics. Someone that might be better at the clerical or data entry, things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure like anything, there's a ton of forms.
There's a
and
ton of forms.
And permission slips.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
All that, releases.
The Corey checks
And
and
the
all
Corey
that.
checks,
You have to keep those all in file.
Yep.
And
And the big fundraisers that you do take 6 months to plan, so.
Yeah, I learned that just recently.
Yeah. And even an event like School Day Games, you have 150 athletes. We do an opening ceremony, we have a parade, and you have to get all the equipment, and so you need a bunch of
people
people
are good at
involved.
logistics. People are good at paperwork.
Yep,
We have somebody that has to be good at planning the event.
right.
Literally, what is going
If
to go
they're not,
on.
I can teach them.
Yeah. I'm sure after 22 years, you probably figured that out. Huh? Yeah, that's one of the things I learned just recently in planning a major event over at the DCU Center.
Takes a long time.
Yeah, well, first of all, you have to get the money and you have to do all this stuff, but just the sheer fact of organizing the program, who's going to speak first, when the flags come in, when all that stuff has to
Yeah.
be planned,
Yeah.
and then there's always the changes. So it's amazing. And then when it happens, it never goes off like it's planned.
No, and you run around like a
Then you're
crazy woman.
trying to catch. Okay, this didn't happen as supposed to. So what are we going to do? Oh gosh, it's amazing.
Well, what I always tell people after long experience is it's like the audience going to see a play for the first time. If they haven't seen it before, they don't know when the actors speak.
Right.
You just keep on going
That's right.
and doing it. And then you also have, I'm sure, all the critics when something goes wrong.
yeah.
"Oh, this didn't go right. That
Oh, that
go
didn't.
right."
And I didn't like what they had to say. And that person shouldn't have been in front of that person. And this person shouldn't have done that. And-
Well, I do have an
Oh.
interesting question you just reminded me. Now, you have the, what do we call them, the over-involved parents in regular
Helicopter
athletics.
parents.
But my kid didn't get enough playing time. Do you get that in Special Olympics?
Not too much. Not too much. I have had it, but not too much, no.
It's probably
No,
more-
because it's a different type. It's different because we are trying to help everybody succeed. So we're including everybody, and we're working hard at the individual skills. And
Winning isn't as important,
no, it's important to our athletes.
but it's not important. Participation is the
Right,
most important.
right, and having experiences that you've never had before in your
Right.
life.
yeah,
And
I just-
overcoming some kids just to get a basket is amazing. The game's over when they get a basket. They're done. They're bowing. They're clapping for themselves. They don't even realize that the other team is still
Right,
going.
right.
Because
I
so
did
it's-
it. I did it.
Yeah, yeah.
I can
So,
imagine that. I can imagine
It's
there's
about
less
all
of
those
an issue
individual
of the fact that my son only got 5 minutes of playing time. He's reverting
And I'm
to
not saying we haven't had that. We have had
no,
that.
but it
for the
sounds
majority-
like you're getting more of, hey, my son got 5 minutes of
Right,
playing time,
exactly.
and they're more happy that way.
And that's not that's not an issue with the child. It's an issue with
No,
the parent.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been there too. I've seen that one.
The older I get, the more I realize that different generations have different parenting styles. This is how I know I'm getting older, because I totally disagree with them.
Yeah, that's interesting. As you get older, you begin to.
That's how I can tell I'm getting in my.
That's what makes the world go round, right? All sorts of different people.
It does. I also have more tolerance, though, when my kids in their early 20s pull something, thinking they're going to get a rise out of me. I just sit there going, I did that on my father and mother. It just won't work on me. It's just the times have changed, but
It's that old saying. I may have been born at born at night, but not last night. Yeah, it's always funny because you always think you can get away with stuff. I can get away with that stuff, And all kids do that. All
Yeah.
kids do that.
Yeah.
Well, it's
Oh, I
really,
know.
it's exciting, and the 22 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, I love it. I still love it.
I
So,
would guess,
yeah.
to do it for 22 years.
you got another 22 in you?
oh, I can do it.
There you go, there you go.
Well, I'm going to say, I got to tell you that you're a special person. To see somebody devote more than 2 decades to something is amazing. And it's one of the reasons I wanted to get you on the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, really.
Thank you.
Well, you just happen to be with the right person at the right time in the right place for me to grab you.
Thank you. The athletes and the volunteers and the coaches, it's such a wonderful atmosphere. You can't help but keep going for them.
And you're having fun.
I'm having fun. Yeah.
That's the most important part.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you do it, is you're having fun and you're being able to give back. I think that's
And
important.
your family doesn't mind the time you put into this?
No, my family's used to it. They do it with me half the time.
That's good.
I bet
Yeah.
your family's probably grown up watching you do
My
this. so it's
kids
normal.
have, and one of my sons is now a teacher, and my other son is in med school, and he's talking about doing developmental pediatrician. So they're both working with kids somehow. So
Oh, that's good.
yeah.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're winding down the time, so
Okay.
what I'd like to do is say thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having
Your 2
me.
big events are again in September
And November.
and November. So we'll remember that in September and November of 17, we'll reach out to you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate
And
it.
anybody that's interested, how's the best way to contact you?
I would say by email, jwalsh@milfordma.com would be the best.
There you go. And just to me and from the community, a giant thank you.
Thank
because
you. Yes,
I think what
absolutely.
you do is very special, especially for 22 years.
Thank you
22
very
years,
much.
it's obvious. I mean, you are the program.
And to all those kids who are probably young adults now or older adults, you've made an impact on
Wow.
people. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, how many kids, just out of curiosity, how many kids started with you 22 years ago and you're still in contact with?
Actually, I do have about 10 of them
That's
because my team was small back then. So,
really.
yeah. But I
Wow,
do have
that's-
about 10 athletes that started with me.
And they're now involved in.
It's still going.
Oh,
Yep.
that's great.
That's fantastic.
That's fantastic. So they're part of your family.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You got that right.
Anyway, Jen, thanks for being on.
Thank you
We
for having
appreciate
me.
it.